I want to welcome the GMs and the wives, the godly men and the warm, inviting, feminine, empathetic women out there. Today's video topic, I want to discuss why carry a cross if you can carry a guitar. And so for those that can't see, that's my guitar back there. I call it the Black Shadow because without that thing, oh my gosh, a lot of emotions have just poured out of that guitar over the past few years, specifically since COVID. And if it wasn't for that guitar, I don't know where I would really be. And creativity in general, I don't know if I wasn't capable of authentically expressing myself in certain ways, I don't think I would be the person that I am today and right now. So I do want to take a look at the scripture where Jesus says also to carry the cross. And he says, this is Luke 9:22 is where we're starting, by the way. The Son of Man must suffer many things, and to be rejected of the elders and the chief priests and scribes, and be slain, and be raised on the third day. And he said to them all, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his cross daily, and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, but whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. So what exactly does that mean? And ought we to take that actually and literally? Well, here's the thing that we have to understand is that unity blinds the devil. Unity also awakens those that have eyes to see and ears to hear. And so think about this. Which is more difficult on the spiritual path and just life in general? Being able to pick up the cross and to suffer, and to be maybe also in a prison in which you don't even know that it's a prison? Or is it to genuinely find joy and in life's existence, and to be at ease with and to relax into existence itself? Which is more difficult? Because lately I've been asking myself, I don't genuinely know which one is more difficult at this point, because obviously life is suffering. Because it is kind of a paradox. They're both equally difficult in some senses. But because life is suffering, and without the suffering of life, you don't really know the joy of life. But without the joy of life, you don't really know what it's like to bend through the suffering. And you only are rewarded by and with God's grace in accordance to your true strength and faith, in accordance to faith itself. Because this is something that I think too many people are trying to do in the Christian religion, and just religion in general, to be honest. They're trying to create personalities within each other. And I don't necessarily see how that is conducive to a world that's going to thrive among the stars. I don't see how we're supposed to thrive, in which case everybody's pretty much the same. Now, of course, we are all the same in some senses, and we're reflections of each other in some senses at the deepest spiritual, psychological levels, but in many ways, we're also very unique. Every single person that I've ever met has been completely different in some sense, even though the behaviors are relatively the same for the most part. It's the personalities of each individual that's truly an individual is very different. And every person brings something new to the table, and you can learn something new from every single relationship that you have. I genuinely trust that. But I have been wondering, is it really, if we are to follow Christ, and if we are to, as Jesus says, take up our cross daily and follow him, like, does life have to be that way? And I'm just asking a question. I'm just asking a question here. Does life really have to be all pain and suffering? Now, of course, life is pain, and it's kind of reminds me of the Princess Bride quote where Wesley tells Buttercup, life is pain, and anybody that tells you differently is trying to sell you something. And in some sense, I understand that. But at the same time, it's almost equally difficult to live a truly happy life and to live a joyful life in which you can feel fulfilled. Because you look around you at how many people are carrying, let's take everybody that claims to be in their religious beliefs or whatever. They're doing exactly what they're saying, that they're being told to do at church or in the scriptures, etc. How many of those people do you think are truly fulfilled? And if that's not the case, if they are doing what the churches and what the religions are saying and the scriptures are saying, and they're not fulfilled, then, well, is it the people that are not actually doing what they're supposed to do, or is it the teaching itself that is not correct? Now, I am not saying that because I do follow Jesus, and I'm not saying that Jesus is incorrect here, but I am wrestling with Jesus right now. I am really wrestling with what he's really trying to say. Is this really the path that we're supposed to take? And in some sense, asking the question is almost to rebuke the words that Jesus is saying himself. But at least that's the way some people might take it. But that's not what I'm saying at all. I genuinely think that we need to be able to question these kinds of things, especially if we're not being fulfilled. If we're not growing closer to the source of God, why do the things that you're doing? If what you're doing and what you're being taught isn't leading you toward a more fulfilled life, and you're actually implementing what you're being told to do, then something might not be right with what you're being taught. You might be submitting to somebody else's will, and you might be being sold something. So when Jesus says here, "For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, but whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it." You can either fight through your life, you can be forgotten in time, or you can rise in love. Because that's ultimately what Jesus did. He was raised on the third day, and it was only through the love that Jesus had that he was able to do so. The faith in that, the faith to have faith in that to begin with, takes tremendous courage. Some might even call it stupidity. Some might call your faith stupidity, and to that you have to be discerning on your own. Not everybody that's going to see what you're doing and what you have a faith in, they're not going to see that as something that unifies the people. But if what you're doing and what you're bringing to the table is unifying people, how could that really be wrong down the line? So when you are carrying your cross, what you're doing is, in many ways, you're taking on the suffering of the world in the same ways that Jesus did. You're growing in compassion. You're growing in love itself. And so sometimes it might be better for you to simply carry the cross. But other times I genuinely think that sometimes the cross can actually be that guitar. Music can bring people together. Carrying your cross just means carrying a load. To carry your cross means to carry the weight of something that's heavier than you to help hopefully make somebody else's life a little bit easier, a little bit more simple, a little bit more at ease and relaxed. But first comes the pain. First comes the suffering. And through that suffering, you will gain in wisdom and strength. So with that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful. And until next time, peace be with you.